Hello, Archer agents. Welcome to our special edition. I'm here with our sports director, Keith West. Keith, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So you're wondering what's going on. Well, today is very special. We're doing a special training about sports travel, and we're going to talk about the whole industry in sports travel and a little background while Keith and I are here, what we're all about. So we want to say welcome. If you're brand new to Evolution and to Archer Travel, welcome. We're so excited you're here. And if you're not new and you've been with us forever, thank you so much. We appreciate it and love you to death, and welcome to the family. But now we're introducing Team Sports Travel for 2024. So we're going to get right into it. Keith, any words real quick before we get into this?
Good luck.
Spoken like a true coach right there. All right, next slide. So we might be having some technical issues. There we go. We're back on. I don't know if you guys know, it's been off and on raining here in Southern California. And when it rains here in Southern California or the wind blows a smidge, the whole world shuts down in California, right, Keith? The internet goes down.
No practice.
No practices. Everything stops in the sports world, too.
Coach's holiday.
Coach's holiday. Is that what you guys call it?
Yes.
Coach's holiday. All right, little background about myself and Keith. I started the sports travel division many, many moons ago here at Archer Travel. My background was 20 plus years in youth club coaching, 7 years in college coaching, and then 3 years in the professional and amateur coaching division. Mr. West here, many more years in coaching college. He still looks like he's in his 20s, but he was a college coach for over 20 plus years, and then a youth club coach for over 20 plus years. So the gray hairs is because of probably coaching.
100%. And my wife.
Oh, there you go. That too.
Yes.
Both. Yes, we're both that way. But we started the sports travel division. I think you guys might know the story. You might not know the story. I was, at the time, just married to my wife, Julie Archer, and we're at Thanksgiving. And I sat there and listened to them talk about business with all the Archers, and Lola Archer was there. And I sat at the table, and I said, so who handles your sports travel? And they all looked at me, and Lola stared at me, just a stare, the business stare, I call it, from Lola. And the wheels were turning, and Ron and Steve, my father-in-law, and Ron Archer, obviously of Archer Travel, Ron Archer, the brains behind the whole operation, they didn't say a word, and I guess I left them speechless. And my logic was,
is hard.
Which is very hard to do in the Archer world, but my logic was UCLA has to go play Stanford every year. And Stanford has to come to Southern California in college sports. So I said it's recession-proof. Now, I didn't know about the pandemic back then, but it was recession-proof. So what happened was the next morning, I get a phone call from my father-in-law that says, hey, come into the office and have lunch with us. I was excited because I was a newlywed, and I thought for sure I'm going to have lunch with my father-in-law and Ron Archer. This is great. I walk in the office, shake their hands, and Ron says, sit down, here's your desk. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, you're in charge of the sports division. And that's how the sports division started. So there you go. And then we've morphed it into now this great brand that Keith has developed. And we want to give the knowledge to you guys now on the next way to make money for the company. Next slide. Sorry, a quick story about how the sports travel division...
Sounds like what you did to me.
It's exactly what I did to you.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, Keith and I played college soccer together. We've known each other for almost 30 years. And he was looking to get out of coaching college soccer and get into another business. So I brought him to the office and said, there's your desk. And he's been here for how many years now?
2.5, 3.
2.5, 3 years now.
Yeah.
And he runs our sports division, has done a great job with everything. But right now we want to talk about the sports travel industry and what's going on, the impact it makes in sports. So I'm going to read the first to the left there, Keith. You got your side there. You can read that one. So the economic impact of amateur and youth sports tourism is staggering. It really is. According to the Sports Events and Tourist Association, it's a $39 billion industry. Think about that, 39 with a B in 2021. But generates everything, the economic impact with hotels, ticket sales, food, everything is $91.8 billion. which results in generating a 635,000 jobs and tax revenue of 2.9 billion for the local economy. Youth sports, college sports is amazing, and we're part of that job industry. We're part of that. That's us as agents are part of that industry. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, so I didn't know half these facts, by the way. It's great to see this. 2019, 179 million people traveled to out-of-town events, which is amazing to even hear that.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, obviously, it decreased by 46%. What's even crazier, though, is coming out of the pandemic, it increased 53%. So just in a little bit of time, I mean, the sports industry is it's blowing up, becoming massive with all youth sports, all of them.
And if your kids right now, as agents, if your kids are playing any club sport or travel sport, you're staying in hotels every other weekend. Keith's son and my son and daughter and Keith's daughter are constantly traveling. And we just see the economic impact directly at us because we're writing the checks for our kids to stay in these hotels and paying for the food and all that. So we're all contributing to this, which is amazing.
And by the way, we don't get any free stuff when we travel with our families. So
Yeah,
it's not happening.
We're writing the checks just like everyone else.
Yes.
So anyways, next slide real quick, Amanda, please. Thank you. In 2021, sports-related travel accounted for 66.5 million nights spending in hotels. I wanted this slide because the standalone hotel and the future, which Keith's going to talk about, but imagine the standalone hotel revenue, and this is so important for us agents. In 2021, just 2.5 years ago, sports-related travel accounted for 66.5 million nights of families staying in hotels to watch their children play sports. 66.5 million nights. And all those nights have a dollar figure next to it. So as agents, there is money to be made in youth sports. Like it or not, it's there. So, and then the future is what Keith's going to talk about now.
Yeah, I mean, 39 billion a year industry, but it's expected to climb to 72 billion by 2029. That's unbelievable in 5 more years.
In 5 years.
That's 5 years. I understand it, but I don't get it. It's crazy.
It's just more kids are playing sports now than ever before, which is fantastic. We went from, and I hate to say, but we went from the McDonald's supersize in our generation when, no one was really playing sports. There was a handful and obesity was kicking in. And now with all the technology and the knowledge we learned with nutritionists and stuff, and now seeing all these kids play sports is a great thing, but now they've found a way to make money off of it. So it's a whole nother issue.
Yes, I mean, just the international travel amongst the youth sports, not just in soccer, but you're talking basketball, volleyball. They're all trying to go internationally too.
Yeah.
So it's expanding exponentially.
So what do we move on? How do we do this? How can we help you? So now what is what I call it, the now what moment. So you've learned that there's money in youth sports. You learn that people are staying in hotels, people are traveling, whether it's flights, hotels, rental cars, vans, buses, food. So excursions. So now what? As agents. So this is a now what as agents. Keith deals with this daily, so I'm just going to touch the first one. Keith will do the second. I'll do the third. So I always say, and I said this to Keith when he first started, you must be organized. As a travel agent in the sports industry, well, just as a travel agent, but in the sports industry, you must be extremely organized because there's so many moving pieces. And we'll elaborate more on each one, but go ahead, Keith, go ahead.
So I work directly with the organizers, the lead person or the person that needs or wants what they want from the trip. And even working with those people, things come up. When you're dealing with a group of 70, 80, 100 people, I mean, you're going to have at least 20% of those people having a special need or having some issues that come up. And with that becomes more work on your side of it, only because you're trying to solve those situations. A kid got hurt, a kid got sick, family can't pay, they started to pay, a family debt. There's all kinds of different situations that arise. And being on this side of the fence when you're working with a group travel there's constantly something happening, and it is frustrating and it is bothersome, but I mean, that's what I signed up for, and that's what we signed up for, to do this, and that's just a part of the game. And some people will say, well, it's not worth the time or the energy, the money. And I say it all the time, well, it's about the kids. So for me, it is about the time and energy and money. It really is, because the kids are the ones that are benefiting the most. So that's what really drives me to
Absolutely.
do this.
And the one thing that Keith always explains to me, and we talk about it, is don't get caught up with the individual families. You're dealing with a group, even if it's just one team. Let's say it's a basketball team of 12 boys or girls traveling. That's 12 families you're dealing with, but they might be traveling with multiple people in their family. So we don't get caught up with the individual family. Just work, like Keith says, work with the directors, the owners, the coach, or the team manager. Let them deal with the little in the weeds, and then get you the information. So you're staying on top of everything, it's making sure that you have enough hotel rooms, but don't get caught up in, well, you know, my son and daughter want this. We need this amount of pillows in our bedroom. Let that get brought up to you by the person who's in charge of the event communicating to you, because you can spend hours if you're dealing with just the individual families one at a time. So deal with the coordinator. And then go ahead. And Keith is the best at this on number 4 here on the communication. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, things will come up all the time on our side or on their side, in the sense of they had 19 rooms, and now they're saying that they only have 17 rooms, and we have to solve this situation. And that communication with that lead is always the most important, because when those situations arise, that's on us. Yeah. And we're going to have to do whatever we have to do to make that right for the group. But those situations do arise, and the leaders of the group want to be able to trust you that you're going to come through with your word and how you present yourself at all times.
Yes.
So you know, I dealt with the group the other day, and something came up, and I informed them what was going on, and because our relationship became so close or good, you know, it didn't bother that person at all of the situation that came up. You cannot control everything inside of this industry. You know, you're dealing with the hotel bookings. You're dealing with the community. When we talk about the community, you're just dealing with so many different aspects of this trip. And we're also working with trips in here 6, 7, 8 months out. So you're working with information 8 months out with very little information, but you got to put the trip together. And as the trip morphs into what it morphs into, you're hopefully that information you put in comes to fruition or comes to light about exactly what you thought it was going to be. Because pricing isn't always set right away, but the group wants pricing right away. So you have to give a little bit of a guidance or an estimate on how or what this trip and how it's going to go down, so you can lead them, and then in turn they'll lead you to get to where you need to get to.
Perfect. Great advice. And the last one on this slide is always have everything in writing. Cancellation policies in writing, payment process. If you don't have it in writing and it's a he said, she said deal, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So what Keith and I always advise when we go and meet with coaches, directors, staff members we're taking a group, we put everything in writing. It's great to have a verbal understanding, but we always come back to our desk and put in writing so we have an agreement. Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that? It's so important that you guys put everything in writing and you read all the contracts and you let them know, hey, this is what's going on in the contract. This is the cancellation dates, times, year, whatever, however far out you are. You guys do an amazing job as agents. It's just now you're dealing with groups and you're dealing with youth kids, schedules changes. So you just got to have everything in writing, because unfortunately there's rainouts. There's lightning strikes. There's just cancellations that happen in youth sports. So you want to have everything in writing to cover yourself. So when they get upset for whatever reason, they're not upset with you because you're organized and you've done your due diligence.
And I will add to that too.
Please,
I mean, we just had a group that flew out to Dallas, I believe it was, and the rental car company did not have the cars that they promised us. And that person was very upset with us, and we showed how much we had in writing, and it had everything situated and completely done to, let's call it to the T. And the rental car company really dropped the ball. And but this person that we were working with was really upset with us, thinking we dropped the ball. But when we sent him all the paperwork back, he pretty much apologized for the most part. So, but these situations come up quite often.
It does, and it happens, and so that's why we want to put everything in writing. And the more you have in writing, then you covered your end. Next slide. So after you now are organized, you got your group going. What you do? How do we use? What suppliers do we use? The one I recommend the most is Expedia Tap. The reason why I like Expedia Tap because they have a groups division that you can go through your Expedia Tap website, and if you have groups, whether it's a sports group, a wedding group, whatever, but they do have a sports group button. You click it, and you can put down what you're looking for. They will get back to you in a couple days to get you hotel contracts, all the terms and conditions, and pricing. So I do recommend Expedia Tap if you're looking for a supplier. There's obviously other suppliers we used, ALG, they have a groups division. A lot of the suppliers that we recommend are groups division. I just like Expedia Tap personally that we've used in the past. They've done a good job for us in the groups division. But Keith also deals directly, and I wanted Keith to talk about directly with the hotels. You can explain how that works.
Yeah. So you basically you're reaching out to the group salesperson at an individual hotel, or you can reach out like Reggie had said in the screen, which is directly to Marriott or directly to Hilton, and request hotels for, I don't know, let's call it 200 room nights, because a lot of these hotels don't have more than 50 room nights or 75 room nights, but you need 200 room nights for that one night. And it becomes a little bit cumbersome when you're working with these suppliers or by yourself to call each hotel. We just had a group go off with 200 room nights for 400. It's a 2-night stay, and it took 8 hotels for us to do it. Groups of 30, 20, 25, and we went directly to the hotels to make sure that that we got the exact number we were looking for.
And they were commissionable.
So
you just use use the Archer IATA number and say you're with Archer Travel, and make sure they're commissionable rates, because Keith can say, matter of fact, we actually got some contracts recently that were not commissionable, if I understand.
Yes, it is
so
true.
You have to be very clear and do your due diligence to make sure you ask for commissionable rates when you're working directly with the hotel.
Yes, and I don't know if they're fully aware, I'm sure they are, but groups are 9 or more, 10 or more.
Right. Yeah, good point. And they might not be aware, so that's a great point. So there's many ways you can use, obviously, Expedia Tap, ALG, your suppliers, and go to the groups division, or you can work directly with the hotels. So there's definitely options for you for the youth sports. And don't feel like we're not trying to scare you or anything. We're just trying to give you the facts that it's a lot of fun. The reward for us, because we're sports guys, is knowing that the kids are off and playing and you've done a good job for them. And the best part is when they come back and they've won a championship and you get the photos of them lifting the trophy and they're like, hey, thank you for the trip. That's the reward for us. That's the win for us. Yes, money's nice, getting the commissions, but we're more about it was a successful trip. It's about the actual putting it all together is rewarding for Keith and I. So next slide. Questions and answers. So before we go into Q&A, one thing I always want to recommend to you guys, and I just remembered I didn't put on the slide, the key thing I always tell every agent that calls us for sports travel, when you're booking hotels, make sure you try to get them a free breakfast.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
That is, and usually maybe a meeting room as well.
And a meeting room. So, Keith, since you deal with this more than I do now, how often do you get, when you have to book, they always ask for free breakfast requests and meeting rooms? Is it almost every trip now?
Every single trip.
Yep.
Every single trip. I mean, some don't always want the meeting room, but the ones that are, the collegiate teams, 100% almost all want the meeting rooms. The youth teams, just depends on the coach.
Okay. And that's the key thing. So, but they all wanted breakfast.
Yeah, it's convenient.
It is convenient. Amanda, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. So the first question is, do they have APA events, pool tournaments?
What's the...
Say that again. You cut out.
Do they have APA events, pool tournaments?
They're out there, yes. There's almost every sport has tournaments and events. You just have to go online and look them up. Personally, I'm not a pool person, but I've gotten calls for, rodeo events, you name it. So yes, it's whatever the sport is, you can organize it.
Cornhole.
cornhole events now. There's the cornhole youth tournaments that we've been called on. So yes. Yeah. Next question.
Next question is. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Okay, here it is.
No problem.
We should always get a contract first and send to Archer to review and then book with the client, correct?
Correct, 100%. Any contract you get, you're going to send it to the to contracts. To our group contracts. Thank you. I'm trying to remember everything. A lot going on here in the brain. Yes, and Susie and Jose and myself will review them. And if it's something that's sports related that you have an extra question, obviously you can email Keith and myself. We'd be happy to answer. But group contracts go to Susie and Jose in the groups department. What's the email address for that again, Amanda? Do you remember?
Group contracts at archertravel.com.
Yes, group contracts at archertravel.com.
And I would stress a little bit too on that the commissionable rate is in there and what rate it is, and no attrition in there.
Yes. Do you want to explain what attrition is?
Attrition is the short form is that when you have no attrition, that means you're not responsible for any of those room nights that are not booked. But if you go an 80-20 attrition rate, that means you have to book 80% of those rooms. And 20% of those is not on your thing, but 80% is. And if you're booking 100 rooms, that's 80 rooms you're going to have to pay for if you sign that contract.
Yeah, you're liable for those 80 rooms. So we always look for no attrition. And what's nice about no attrition is it gives a deadline. Let's say the trip is June 1st. They're usually 30 days out, so maybe May 1st is the deadline, and whatever you don't book up by May 1st, they just fall back into inventory, to the public inventory. So try to get it with no attrition, as well as make sure there's commissionable rates, like he said. Great question, by the way, from our viewer. Next, is there any more questions?
I wanted to share some comments, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, someone said, before being an agent, I planned these trips for years without getting paid. LOL, Disney, you name it, 100 or more persons. And then someone else said, I worked with music and church groups. Someone else said, I have a cheer team and they do competitions and whatnot.
Perfect.
So there's a lot of agents that are currently doing it and they're just appreciating the extra knowledge.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions, you can feel free to email myself or Keith, and we can help you answer questions. And that's what we got. Keith, thank you so much for taking the time and working with us. But we do have a couple other things that we want to share with you real quick. We do have custom sports travel videos as well as some flyers. Amanda, can we show that to the audience? Can you go over that with them?
Yes, so we have this awesome bundle. If you go to shop.archertravel.com and you go to custom marketing materials and click on bundles.
Perfect.
Once you click on bundles, it takes you to this page and you can see we have this awesome sports bundle. And if you get something bundled 2 or more, it's 20% off each item. So that's really cool. And we have sports flyers. As you can see, if you click on them, it gives you a demo that can be customized, and you can get your information put on them. And we have lots of different kinds of travel. For example, adventure travel, sports travel, ski and snowboard, basketball, football, you name it. So pretty cool. We have some flyers for you guys. But what's really awesome is this video. So let's go ahead and share it.
Let's view it.
Sports fans travel yearly to celebrate the games they love. We will handle all the planning and trip preparation needed to attend all major sporting events. Your Evolution travel agent will find the best available seats, the most convenient accommodations, and flights to your destinations. While the Olympics and World Cup only happen every 4 years, we can help you plan now for an experience of a lifetime. Book a trip to see the next Super Bowl. Experience the sound of Indy cars racing in the Indianapolis 500. Or see the most iconic sports stadiums, ballparks, and venues around the world. Your Evolution travel agent has ongoing sports packages covering all the major sporting events and college sports teams to make your game day experience one to remember. Call your Evolution travel agent today and let us plan your next vacation.
That's a great video. I love that.
I will add
Sports-
those sports flyers are a great way to get the word out that you're doing things.
Yeah.
Every trip we do, we pretty much put something out there to the families to let them to just show them the professionalism of what we're doing this hat.
So, once again, Evolution agents, Archer agents, you're more than welcome to obviously go to shop.archertravel.com and get the bundle for the flyers as well as the video. It's fantastic to use, and like he says, we use it in-house too. We use the same thing. So it makes it look very professional and gets your brand out there, and it's a great marketing tool to put on social media. But thank you so much, Keith, again for coming in and talking. And Amanda, thank you for getting this prepared for us. And everyone right now, have a wonderful and safe weekend and start looking out there, because every weekend kids are traveling and playing sports. So start thinking about how you can market to that group and make some money.
If they have more questions, I just saw
Oh.
some come in chat. Who should they reach out to, or do you want to answer those now?
We can answer a couple right now. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Richard is asking, what about professional sports? Olympics, sports not in America. Not everyone has kids or former athletes.
Right. So there's Golden Ticket is one of our suppliers. They provide tickets for those events. There's also another company we met with, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, that you spoke to. She does sports bundling. Oh my goodness, the company.
Tickets at Work?
Is that what it is? Tickets at Work?
Well, I know that Golden Tickets and Tickets at Work both do
Yeah.
sports.
There's one more.
Ticketing.
Richard,
Yes.
go ahead and email Keith and I.
Yes.
And there is one more company. I just can't. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Jen, I forgot.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Keith actually had a couple Zoom calls with them about those questions, because we do get a lot of those. Email us, and Keith and I, one of us will respond to you and say, "Oh yeah, this is the supplier that we use."
Ginger's her name.
Ginger's her name. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So we know the name, we just don't remember the company's name. But
Yes.
there are suppliers out there that we have partnered with to help us get those tickets. Now, they're not cheap. There was tickets Keith and I were looking to go and take a group to Vegas, and they weren't cheap, but they are available out there, and you might have the clientele for that. Go ahead. Next question, Amanda.
What about excursions like fishing trips, kayaking, and golf trips?
So, great question. So my son's baseball team went to Arizona, and they wanted to golf. So we ended up working out and calling the golf company, or the golf course, and did a whole bundle thing. But we used Viator for some of the excursions with the boys too. So you have Viator as an excursion usage. I highly recommend using Viator. We actually used it for our group. We sent a team overseas, and we used Viator for all the excursions, and it was perfect. So I highly recommend you using Viator for the excursions for the groups.
Perfect. And someone said Events 365.
Event 365, yes,
Too, they think.
yes, Event 365, and just make sure that we're affiliated with Event, not affiliated, but we've signed a contract with them. So if you're reaching out to Event 365, make sure that they have our IATA number and bank info. And if they don't, let me know, and I'll make sure we sign up for them.